You think you have plenty of following distance until something unexpected happens. Let's find out how much space you should have.
I'm cruising along at 70 on the interstate. That car is way in front of me. I got plenty of room if I need to stop.
Not so fast there, buckaroo. Let's find out how much space you actually have. Sir, it looks like it's only 20 feet. At 70 miles an hour, I'm gonna have to write you a ticket for following too closely.
Did you think that driver was too close? The National Safety Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration both recommend using what they call the 3-second rule to determine safe following distance on the highway. If you're not familiar with it, the way it works is you pick a fixed object on the side of the road. When the car in front of you passes that object, you're supposed to start counting by thousands. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. You shouldn't come to that fixed object until you've counted 3 seconds. That's the idea of 3 seconds of following distance. If your vehicle is traveling 70 miles an hour, you're going at 102 feet per second. If you only have a couple of car lengths between you and the next car, that's maybe 30 feet, which means it's maybe a third of a second at 70 miles an hour. So let's look at how far away should you be if you're traveling 70 miles an hour. What does the 3-second rule look like on pavement?
I can barely see that other car, but that's the recommended distance? 306 feet. That's an entire football field.
What about in slower traffic? How can we bring these numbers down to a slower speed, like 35 miles an hour, let's say?
Now we're cruising through town at 35 miles an hour. Traffic's a little heavy, but I got plenty of room in front of me in case something happens.
Let's roll out the tape. That looks like another ticket for following too closely.
At 35 miles an hour, your car is traveling 51 feet per second. Safe following distance using the 3-second rule would be 153 feet. If the average car is about 15 feet long, that means your safe following distance at 35 miles an hour would be 10 car lengths.
Apparently this is what 10 car lengths looks like. Who would have thunk?
What's the moral of this story? You're probably too close to the car in front of you. Most of us are. That means we should all be giving more room when we're driving on the highways. If you're charged with following too closely, at least in Virginia, there is a little more nuance to the law, thankfully. The law uses a phrase, reasonable and prudent. So you're supposed to give enough distance as is reasonable and prudent given the traffic and roadway conditions at the time. So what this means as far as defense attorneys are concerned is there is a little bit of give in the statute. We don't just sit down and measure and say, okay, were you 153 feet behind the car in front of you or not? There's a little more nuance and argument to be made depending upon the roadway conditions and traffic at the time. The flip side of this is if it's raining or icy or snowy or something like that, then you need to give more following distance. The numbers we've seen in this video are all about good road conditions with good tires, no obstructions on the pavement, no water, that kind of thing. The other consideration is if the highway is wide open and there's nobody around, there's simply no reason for you to be too close to the car in front of you. You need to keep in mind that safe following distance is a lot further away than you think it is. But if you're driving on Interstate 95 and there's cars all over and you end up in a following too closely accident, you may have a better argument if you were a little closer than you should have been, just simply due to heavy traffic congestion on the highway. Unfortunately, keep in mind that if you rear end a car in front of you, almost every single time you're going to get some kind of a ticket. This is why I started out the video, and I will re-emphasize, we're all too close. Give more room than you think you need, and that will serve you well as far as hopefully not rear-ending someone, not getting a ticket, and not seeing your insurance rates increase. Next up, check out my video on why you should not talk to the police. It certainly could be handy if you end up in a following too closely accident.